We have all kinds of NHL news and rumors to take a look at today. In the offseason rumor mill, we're looking at the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Rangers. Some potential big changes for both clubs as they both have disappointing seasons. Plus, could Gabriel Landeskog be on his way back to play with the Habs in the playoffs? We have a major update on his situation, plus a big update on Allred Demidov and when you can expect him to make his debut for the Montreal Canadiens. Lots of other NHL news today as well regarding one of the top prospects outside the NHL, the Lightning, Isaac Howard. What his future holds. Will he go back to school? Could he leave Tampa? We'll discuss that situation. Plus, could there be another Hutson brother joining the NHL? There's a brother to Lane and Cole that is getting a lot of NHL attention. Plus, Connor McDavid returns and lots of other playoff action tonight coming up next. Well, welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we've got tons of NHL news, all kinds of stuff going on today. Very newsworthy day. And unfortunately, for the second time this week, need to start this video off with some more sad news. The NHL hockey world has lost another one of their beloved members of the community in Shero. Currently, I was working with the Minnesota Wild in an advisory type role. But Ray was around the game of hockey in various capacities for about 30 years. Of course, his father was very well-known, famous head coach Fred Shero, of course, longtime coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Ray was only 62 years of age. We didn't even have any inclination that he was dealing with anything, but the information that came out today indicates that he had been dealing with a brief illness. So sounds like he got diagnosed with something, but it hadn't been all that long, and now he suddenly passed away. So he was way too young. It's the second, member of the NHL community in their 60s that passed away here this week. Of course, Ray Shero, that's in 30 years in the game, probably most known for being a general manager, which he did for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils, winning the Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh in 2009. But prior to that, he had a lot of, other work leading to becoming a GM. Worked as an AGM, starting with the Ottawa Senators, and his old friend Randy Sexton was there for a number of years before he got pulled away by the Nashville Predators and worked with David Poile. What a great guy to learn from there. One of the greatest GMs and longest serving GMs in NHL history. He worked with David for 8 years in Nashville before getting the opportunity to go on to Pittsburgh to become their GM. And so he followed that up with becoming the Devils GM, and then afterwards worked as an advisory type capacity here with the Minnesota Wild, good friend Bill Guerin. Of course, did a lot with USA Hockey as well. So just a lifer in the hockey world, and another case of gone way too soon. So unfortunately, more sad news in the NHL community. Certainly want to wish Ray's friends, family, colleagues, our deepest sympathies. Sounds like, again, a very, very big-time family man that was extremely well-liked by his peers and many people throughout the NHL world. I've seen so many wonderful stories and things about him today. It's just awful news and another tragic day in that sense. Lots of other things going around the NHL today. We actually had, I want to start though with some things that went down last night. First time in NHL history that we have seen a team come back from a 3-goal comeback in the final minute, which was pulled off by the Vancouver Canucks last night against the Dallas Stars. Absolutely incredible. So the Dallas Stars have a 3-goal lead, minute to go, when we get Aatu Räty scores exactly with 1 minute remaining. And then Suter scores 30 seconds later, 19:30. And then 30 seconds to go, they go and they get it tied up. Suter again, 19:53. So in 53 seconds, they scored 3 goals. First time ever in NHL history that we've seen 3 goals in the final minute to tie up a game like that. Then they go into overtime, and Kiefer Sherwood scores in overtime. The Canucks win 6-5. Absolutely insane, incredible. Unfortunately for Vancouver, as much as that was an awesome comeback, and they're doing it without some of their key players in the lineup at that, it might be too little too late on their season here. They're falling a little bit too far behind in the wildcard race to get caught up. Theoretically, they're still mathematically not eliminated yet, but like I said, a little too late. They're too far behind the 8 ball. Even the Calgary Flames are going to have a tough time to get in, but at least they have a little bit better chance to catch Minnesota. But Minnesota kind of controls their own fate here with enough of a lead that if they win a few more games, they're going to end up clinching. So quite a comeback for the Vancouver Canucks last night. And, of course, we have some other playoff races to update as well. Of course, last night we saw the Ottawa Senators clinch their playoff spot for the first time in 8 years. The Sens are heading back to the playoffs in 2025. And they did so after losing to Columbus. It was actually one of their, I wouldn't say one of the worst games of the season, but certainly one of their worst games in the last couple of months, for sure. They didn't play horrible, but they just seemed like they didn't get the goaltending that they were on the weekend, where they were getting shutouts from Forsberg and Ullmark both. They weren't getting the solid defensive structure. Like every little mistake they made, Columbus took advantage of it and popped it home. They scored a few goals to make it interesting, but ultimately dropped a 5-2 game to the Jackets, but as soon as the game was over, Montreal and Detroit were also playing at the same time. The clocks ended up only being a few minutes apart. The Habs held on to beat the Red Wings, and by the Red Wings losing, they can no longer catch the Senators, and they clinched their playoff spot. So in all seriousness, Montreal kind of did the Sens a favor, but of course with the win, Ottawa and Montreal gap closes to 3 points between wildcard 1 and wildcard 2. But now and Montreal's not clinched yet, but it's pretty much a given. They have like a 7-point lead on the Red Wings Rangers. I just don't see any way. It's a matter of time before Montreal punches their ticket as well. And for the first time in a long time, we're going to get all of Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal in the Atlantic Division, the Eastern part of Canada, all be in the playoffs here. Of course, we're going to have the Jets and the Oilers in the Western Conference, and possibly the Flames, but there's an outside chance that's going to happen here. So the Eastern Conference playoff picture is getting closer. The Devils failed to clinch their playoff spot last night. They're not in really any serious danger, but they still have work to do to take their spot. And of course, like I said, the Western Conference didn't have a lot going on last night, but tonight you get the Wild against the Sharks, and the Flames are battling the Ducks. As I record this video, the Wild have a short lead, and obviously if they win, they're going to continue to hold the hammer here down, but the Flames can't afford to lose, and they need some help with teams beating Minnesota along the way. But it's looking pretty good here for Minnesota for the final few spots here to be clinched. Now, as I mentioned, big Ivan Demidov update. Of course, the big news yesterday was Demidov's getting released from his Russian KHL contract, and he's heading to Montreal. They got his 3-year ELC done. We saw interviews today with his agent, Dan Milstein, and others, and the whole thing kind of came together over about a 3-hour span. Demidov, I believe, is going to wear the number 93 for the Montreal Canadiens. I think the first player since Doug Gilmour briefly wore that during his short stint with the Canadiens way back when here. And it looks like Ivan Demidov is most likely going to make his debut probably next week. It sounds like he won't be in Canada, in Montreal with the team, probably until Friday. I know right now they're working on getting his work visa. He left Russia, and I believe he went to Istanbul was the next stop, and then he'll continue on his journey here. And like I said, they're hoping to have things lined up so that by the weekend that he has a work visa, can join the team, hopefully get on the ice a couple of times. And the expectation is he's most likely going to debut next Monday against the Chicago Blackhawks, which he'll obviously have a chance to go against Connor Bedard. Or if that doesn't happen, then they still have one more after that against the Carolina Hurricanes. So either way, he'll get in 1 or 2 games, but it's not expected that he'll be available for the Canadiens when they have their back-to-back this weekend against the Senators and the Leafs. At least it doesn't look that way right now. That's how most expectations are. It's going to be Monday, but we'll see. But either way, he's coming, which is massive for the Canadiens. I know it was a big day in that respect. Hobey Baker finalist and top prospect for the Lightning, Isaac Howard, appears to be returning to school next year. A lot of people were expecting after his 3rd year of college hockey that he'd be signing his ELC and joining the Tampa Bay Lightning. But they appear to be kind of at odds and can't come to terms on a contract. And right now, it's basically confirmed, although it could still, I'll put this out there that there's still a possibility that over the course of the early part of the offseason here that maybe things change and maybe he signs for next year. But right now things are looking like he's going back to school. Now, if he one more year, he would be a free agent at next offseason, which would be, they have until August to sign him. So they're not in tremendous risk right now to lose him. But after not being able to come to terms, and it sounds like they probably want the ELC to start next year, would be my guess. I believe the cap space here is a bit of an issue. And of course, they have a pretty deep lineup. So where do they fit him in? Do they have the space to do it? All these questions that are coming up here, which makes things complicated. And it sounds from what we've heard that Howard's a pretty confident kid. Kind of goes to the beat of his own drum here and probably wants some NHL time, and wasn't going to be able to get it. So that seems to be, from what we're hearing, is the reason they're kind of at odds here. Doesn't mean it won't get worked out and he'll still be a member of the Lightning. But right now it is looking like he's going back to school in Michigan. Of course, they're getting Trey Augustine back next year as well, so they're bound to have a good team. And, he could dominate one more year, win a Hobie Baker, and become a free agent potentially if things don't work out with the Lightning. I mean, it's not a terrible deal for him. The belief is that Michigan can offer him a pretty good NIL deal as well. So not like he's going to, not make a decent amount of money. So hard to say how things are going to go. But right now there's definitely a bit of beef, it seems like, between Isaac Howard and the Tampa Bay Lightning. A bunch of updates and some injuries here around the NHL. Connor McDavid expected to make his big NHL return to the Oilers tonight. The Oilers have not been doing so well the last 15, 20 games or more. But he is returning tonight against the St. Louis Blues. That'll be a major boost for his team, of course. So we'll see. Minnesota, like I said, they're playing the Sharks as I record this video. Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek both returning and activated tonight for the Wild, which is massive for them. They've been out for a while, especially Kaprizov, and of course play massive roles for that team. Gabriel Landeskog, could he be making his return to the NHL for the playoffs with the Colorado Avalanche? Landeskog and the Avalanche have made an agreement here for him to go down to the American Hockey League with the Colorado Eagles on a conditioning stint. So a couple of things. One, they were concerned with the time of year. The Avalanche are not going to be having a lot of practice time, and when they do, they're not going to be probably practicing super hard, trying to conserve energy and go through a rest recovery phase to get ready for the playoffs. And he's not going to be able to go at the intensity level he needs and get the quality of ice time and practice time that he needs as well. So it made sense that he goes down to the AHL, can get some hard practices in, and maybe even get into a few games as a way to test out his knee. And if things go well during his stint down there, then it's expected that when the Avalanche open the 25 Stanley Cup playoffs, Landeskog could very well be in the lineup. It's not a guarantee, but it's a major step in making that a reality. And, this has been an ongoing battle for 2 to 3 years. So I certainly hope he makes it all the way back. It'd be really awesome for that team and for him to come overcome everything that he has and get in. Another update as well. Evgeny Kuznetsov in the KHL has terminated his contract with SKA St. Petersburg. Has signed a 4-year deal, only 1 year in, and they've agreed to terminate it. He didn't have the greatest, most consistent season. He was around a point per game player, though, putting up 37 points in 39 games, but battled multiple injuries. I believe at least one was a concussion. The team wasn't great. The team had its fair share of struggles, and he's now a UFA. Lots of speculation already. Could he return to the NHL? I'm not sure, because his last few years in the NHL weren't good. I'm not sure that one pretty decent KHL season is going to be enough to bring him back, but he's going to end up looking for work as a hockey player somewhere. Be curious to see what happens next for him. With the loss last night, Patrick Kane in Detroit lost out on a good amount of money, including potential of $750,000 in bonuses. The way his contract is structured, he can earn up to $6.5 million with Detroit this year. $4 million of it as a salary, $2.5 million as bonuses. The first chunk of money, which would have been $1.75 million over 2 different increments, was based strictly on games played. I think one was 10 games, and I think one was, I believe, 50 games. The rest of it was all around making playoffs. So, for example, there's a $500K bonus just for making the playoffs and another $250 for him hitting 60 points in the team making playoffs. So combined, that's $750,000 in bonuses. Now, I know Detroit's technically not eliminated, but they basically are. That loss to Montreal tonight, to me, puts the nail in the coffin. I don't think they can come back from that. So it's going to cost Kane a good amount of money the way his contracts were structured. Jake Gensel also out tonight for the Lightning as they do battle with the Leafs, trying to determine who's going to be first place in the Atlantic. Gensel out tonight due to personal reasons. It's believed that his wife is expected to be delivering a baby, so he, of course, wants to be there for that. So he's missing the game tonight. Now, as I mentioned, could there be another Hutson? We know about Lane Hutson. He stormed onto the scene in the NHL this year with the Montreal Canadiens, most likely going to win the Calder Trophy. He's gotten a lot of attention as being yes, he's a smaller, undersized guy, but a dynamic puck-moving defenseman. Can certainly get around the ice very quickly. Unique, but great skater. We know that he's got a brother, Cole, still playing college hockey, drafted by the Washington Capitals. Cole Hutson might be as good as his brother. It's, at the college level, it looks like a lot of comparisons. Had a great showing for the USA team at the World Juniors. So Washington still has him coming up. But they also have an older brother, too, that was not drafted, and his name is Quinn. So Quinn Hutson, still playing college hockey, playing with BU, of course, who is in the Frozen Four. So their season's still going, as we know. And he's getting a lot of NHL attention, apparently. And a lot of Western Conference teams, according to Elliot Friedman, there's a number of teams, mostly in the Western Conference, that are showing interest here in getting Quinn Hutson signed. So, again, we will see what happens, but there could be a third Hutson brother in the NHL if things work out for him, but expect him to likely get a contract here somewheres once the BU season is officially finished and wrapped up, and we'll see if they end up winning a national championship or what have you. But, going to be interesting to see what happens there. Another rumor as well regarding free agency would be Elliot Friedman's reporting Kane's defenseman Dmitry Orlov. There is some speculation that he could be heading back to Russia to play in the KHL next year. So far, Friedman says that those rumors he was hearing have been denied. The belief is he is going to continue to try to play in the NHL and get another contract. So we'll see what happens with Orlov, but the fact that that's even out there and a possibility, you have to think that depending on what the offers are, that maybe he considers it. But we know a lot of the Russian players, as they get older, do look forward to maybe playing in Russia for a little bit before they retire. I'm not sure if that's something important to Orlov or not, but another situation, I guess, to monitor here for sure. A few more things around NHL offseason stuff here. You got to wonder, the New York Rangers, I know we talked yesterday about this, the comments from Laviolette, the bad losses they've had. They're playing again tonight here. So far, when I recorded this video last night, looked, the Rangers were up 1-0, but the Rangers are a team that's likely going to be seeing a good amount of change. You have to think that there's a good chance that Peter Laviolette might be gone as head coach. I do wonder about Chris Drury as a general manager. Tonight, they're healthy scratching Gabe Perreault. Again, just come out of college, one of their top prospects, had a tremendous college run, already getting healthy scratched. And I get it. They're still trying to make playoffs. They're not eliminated, theoretically. And they got to put the best lineup together they think gives them a chance to win. But Keandre Miller's also out tonight. I've seen some say it's illness, and I've seen some say healthy scratch. I'm not sure what it is. Zach Jones is in his place, but Miller and Perreault are out tonight for the Rangers. I know lots of people still talking about the comments from Laviolette about not going into the room, not having a message for the team after a bad loss. You got to wonder what this coach can do. And after seeing the lineup decisions tonight, you see the right coach if they're going to work in any young players into this roster. It could be a big part of the reason why guys like Othman and hasn't worked out so far and hasn't gotten his enough potential. And look at Kakko and Lafreniere. I mean, we've had multiple coaches. Gallant was the same way. Is Alexis Lafreniere, he's had a major setback this year. Is he going to be somebody they can, have second thoughts on and look to trade in the offseason? You got to wonder. I mean, I haven't seen any rumors suggesting that it's on the table, but, they've got to be having some big concerns after signing that big extension. And now, look where his season's at, right? So what changes are we going to see with the Rangers? Like, we've heard about Kreider, we've heard about, Keandre Miller off and on. You have to think as well that, is there a chance Lafreniere could be on the table? Is Drury and Laviolette going to be back? Like, how's this all going to pan out? Let me know what you think in the comments. I know Elliot Friedman in his blog today also confirmed that the Montreal Canadiens last year at the draft held at the Sphere in Las Vegas were, in fact, it was able to be confirmed that they were involved in heavy trade talks trying to get Trevor Zegras from the Anaheim Ducks. What changed their mind wasn't anything to do with the Ducks or Zegras, was that Ivan Demidov became available. Now, of course, the pick that they used on Demidov was believed, according to Friedman, that wasn't necessarily the pick that was being offered for the trade. But maybe they feel like the fact that they could get Demidov might neglect the need to add another player of that caliber, which would kind of make sense. You have to wonder, though, like I said before in other videos, with the Canadiens having such a good season moving forward and kind of having get back in the playoffs. Their veteran players have been a big part of that. And I do wonder, though, if you look at some of the performances, are they going to try to sell high on a veteran or two, thinking that as much as this is great, are they going to ever be able to duplicate this? So I do wonder how many open roster spots there is going to be with the Canadiens next year, and whether or not a player like Zegras could be somebody that is revisited. They've been linked to this player for a while. We know the relationship with Caulfield, not that that really matters too much, but certainly you got to figure out too where Demidov fits in the lineup long term. So, I mean, I know listening to the Sportsnet panel before the game tonight, they were talking about where does Demidov fit. Also seen on the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro and Pierre McGuire, and they were saying that they probably start him lower in the lineup with a player like Evans, so that way Evans can be there to kind of make up for any defensive shortcomings as he adjusts to the NHL. Long term, you've got Caulfield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky. Do you see, if you're going to play Line A, you get Line A and Newhook are such different players. Are they going to be able to be part of a second line? And how is this going to work out? Dvorak's likely not coming back next year. They signed Evans. So, who's going to be the right centerman for Demidov to play with? Or are they going to end up trying to move around Slafkovsky and try Demidov with Caulfield and Suzuki? I'm not sure. But I think it's fair to say that Montreal definitely are going to be targeting a number 2C. And whether or not that player turns out to be Zegras or not will have to remain to be seen. Or is it Newhook? Is Newhook the guy? But the thing is I guess the big question with their lineup is it better for Newhook to be on the third line, Evans to be on the fourth, or is that too low for Evans now? With Evans' contract, is he going to be expected to play up higher in the lineup? Does Newhook maybe move to the wing on the third line with Evans? Where does Kirby Dach fit in all this when he comes back? Because a lot of people sometimes it's easy to forget about the injured guys. Is Dach maybe used in a package next year? Where does he fit? I don't think the Habs have faith in him as a centerman right now. So again, where does he fit next year? Another player you got to wonder about the future of Kirby Dach in Montreal with the emergence of the veteran players, with Demidov coming in. Who, is there really room, or do they have to maybe make some more changes within that lineup and bring in another complementary piece as a centerman to kind of really level things out? Let me know what you think on that front regarding Montreal. And in Vancouver, another Thomas Strantz article. He's the one that had suggested Steven Stamkos could be a target of theirs. A couple other names he's also brought up as potential players the Canucks could target would be guys like he said that are not as established in the league, or maybe available. Like could be like Connor McMichael and Cole Perfetti. Now, he's not saying that either the Capitals or the Jets are out to trade those guys. I don't think that's where he's going at all. But Connor McMichael's got 25 goals. Yes, their center depth has been pretty deep this year, and McMichael doesn't always need to be a centerman, but still, I think at the end of the day, he's had such a good season. I don't see Washington being interested in moving him. Like, what would they offer, right? What would Vancouver possibly try to give the Capitals for McMichael? That's what I'm not sure of now. unless they come up with a creative solution, we'll see. But, Cole Perfetti in Winnipeg mentioned the fact that they had a contentious contract negotiation. And, long term, is he going to be a centerman there? Is he going to get a chance somewhere else? I don't know. I'm not sure. That with the way things are situated with Winnipeg, they do struggle to attract free agents. So I wonder, they got to be careful trading guys that really want to be there and guys that are really, fit in well. And Perfetti's really had a nice impact this year. So not sure that either of those guys are going to be available, but I can understand why Vancouver would be checking in and why they'd be potential targets. But let me know what you think in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.